Alright guys, so we have some pretty interesting updates when it comes to Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's not a big video like where we have just a huge list of things to talk about. It's two things specifically. First off, it's that Square Enix was actually told to reduce the size of Tifa's breasts for the game, and the other one is that the Honeybee Inn is confirmed for the remake. Now, I personally think Tifa looks fine in the remake. I made a few videos jokingly talking about her boobs and how they need to be as large as possible, etc., etc., but obviously those are jokes. I don't care. As long as she looks like Tifa, we're fine. But it is interesting to know that they actually did reduce her breast size. Let's talk about it. Square Enix has an ethics department, a new interview has revealed, and it advised the Final Fantasy VII Remake team on development. Specifically, the ethics department told the remake developers to restrict Tifa's chest, according to comments made by director Tetsuya Nomura in an interview with Famitsu translated by Digital Foundry's John Linneman. It was necessary to restrict her chest, Nomura says in the interview. For the developers, modernizing Tifa's design meant creating an athletic look, complete with abs, while retaining her iconic white tank top and black miniskirt outfit. But, as the ethics department pointed out, Tifa shouldn't look unnatural during action scenes, so her chest was restricted. This resulted in black underwear and a fitted tank top for the remake. Now, as I said previously, I think she looks absolutely fine in the remake. I'm not one of those people that's over here mad because her boobs aren't as big as possible or as ridiculous as they were in the first game. But I do find it kind of funny that the ethics department at Square Enix was like specific on this. Like, we need y'all to make her boobs smaller. It doesn't make sense for her action combat, fast-paced combat. Her titties gonna be flopping everywhere. If I have one actual complaint about this, it's them using the word unnatural, because there are plenty of examples of women out there who have bodies like Tifa and just insanely large breasts. Like, it's not a thing that doesn't happen. You can simply just Google Tifa cosplay and you'll see it. Other than that, it's whatever. I don't care. On to the Honeybee Inn. Other points of note from the Famitsu piece include the revelation the infamous Honeybee Inn cross-dressing event from the original game is in the remake, or at least in one of the games in the remake, but it's more modern. Now, we've known that the cross-dressing scene itself was going to be in the game since like 2015 or 2016. Tetsuya Nomura, I believe it's Tetsuya Nomura, confirmed it years ago. That's not a surprise at all. But the Honeybee Inn is shocking. I guess you kind of need it if they want to do like the original game. You go inside the Honeybee Inn to get one of the better pieces of the outfit for Cloud if you want to get Cloud to get picked by Don Corneo. So I guess that kind of makes sense there. But the Honeybee Inn itself is just a shocking location, to say the least. For starters, the Honeybee Inn itself is just a brothel. It's a place of prostitutes. You pay to have sex. That's already kind of edgy as it is. Not so much these days, but for sure back in the 90s, this was a pretty edgy thing to have in a video game. You can also peek through the keyholes in certain rooms and watch people. You don't see any sex going on, but still, that's a creepy act in of itself. There's also a few rooms that Cloud could go into, and one of them was called the group room, where he gets in like a bathtub or hot tub with multiple guys, and as you can see, there's some stuff being insinuated here. We don't know definitively what happened in this room. And then there's also the fuck room, which is censored in the original game to just a bunch of symbols, but we know what that means. And Cloud passes out, and a guy gets on top of him and is thrusting in suggestive ways and like hitting Cloud, trying to wake him up, and it's just a strange scenario as well. And I also learned just now recording this video that the Japanese version has vastly more things in it. A lot of it's just hidden in the files of the game, but there was supposed to be so much more stuff to the Honeybee Inn in the Japanese version. A lot more suggestive things like mystery panties and some other shit. The point of all this is the Honeybee Inn is an absolutely crazy location that stands out above any other location in the entire game of Final Fantasy VII, and I don't know how you put this in the game without having to highly edit a lot of this shit. And if you do, it's not going to be the Honeybee Inn. It's just going to be a location called the Honeybee Inn. It's not going to be the same experience, which is going to be like, why even put it in the game at that point? I'm glad it's going to be there. I'm glad they're putting it in the game in some capacity, but still, if it's not like similar in some ways to the original game, it's just like pointless to even have it. But it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the hell they handle this location. I said in the beginning of the video that we're only going to talk about these two things, but there's actually several things to take away from this Famitsu interview that Tetsuya Nomura did, so we got to talk about it, obviously. So first up, he says, the Watchmen of Fate, the Black Mist, and the trailers are mysterious beings that appear before the party wherever they go. I hope that even those who have played the original game will enjoy the new elements. So he's talking about these things now. Now we know what they're called. They're called the Watchmen of Fate. We're going to come across them throughout the story. We know they have something to do with Sephiroth. I don't know if we're going to be able to fight them or what exactly the point of these things are, but now we know what they are, or what they're called at least. There are quite a bit of dialogue options. We're making it so the dialogue changes depending on your response, so the sheer volume of dialogue has increased. So this is great to hear. Even back in 1997 with the original game, you had dialogue options, and they would change dialogue to some degree, and you could even affect some stuff throughout the game. Hopefully there's more impact to your choices through dialogue than just dialogue alone. Hopefully you can change certain scenarios and scenes and things. The actual quote from Tetsuya Nomura about the Honeybee Inn, or the translated quote, says, "The Honeybee Inn cross-dressing event is still in. We've made it more modern. If we made the facility like we did in the original game, the physical unease would be staggering, so that was no good." So it does seem like they are probably going to change it a lot. There are quite a few additions to the scenario. While the main story itself hasn't changed, there are a countless number of new events. Otherwise, we wouldn't have 2 Blu-ray discs. And this is something I've been trying to explain to people and get across, because there's those people out there that are freaking out because it's Midgar only. How dare they do Midgar only? How's that even possible? It's such a short segment of the game. But like, clearly, if they're going to do Midgar only, they're going to add a ton of stuff to do, a ton of story elements that weren't there before. And it's good to see that the main story itself hasn't changed. So you're probably going to do the same stuff, like blow up the first 2 Mach reactors, fall down to the slums, meet Aerith, go to Wall Market, save Tifa, go back up to the surface, do the whole like support beam tower thing. Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge probably going to die, and then you go to the Shinra building, and then, somewhere, but in between all that, there's going to be a lot of stuff to do to where it makes it a full game. Each playable character has different enemy affinities. So this should mean that each character has enemies that they're the strongest and best against, and probably some characters are enemies that they're weak against. How exactly that'll work, or how they decided that, I'm not entirely sure. Just going to throw these last 2 together. An item is required for MP recovery, not really surprising. For the sake of level design, we're preparing a few new enemies where necessary. So that one's interesting, and also, again, pretty obvious. This is going to be a full game experience. They're going to have new enemies in different areas, new bosses, etc., etc. So this isn't surprising, but good news. That means there is going to be surprises for us veteran players, because you're going to go to each of these locations and probably expect to fight these certain enemies or these certain bosses, but they're going to switch it up and probably have new things to do. Anyways, my dudes, that's the video. I wasn't expecting to do that last bit, but once I found the translation of the Famitsu article, we had to talk about stuff. We just couldn't leave that out. That's news. We got to put as much news as we can into all our videos that we make, so it was initially just going to be the Tifa and Honeybee Inn thing, but again, when I find news, we talk about it. As always, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think about the Honeybee Inn? What do you think they're going to do to it? Tetsuya Nomura himself said they pretty much have to censor it and change it a lot from the original game, or just be a little too offensive, I guess, which kind of sucks, but what do you think they're going to do with it? Is it still going to be a brothel? Is it just going to be a location? Is it going to be like a regular inn or something? I don't know. And of course, what are your thoughts on the confirmed reduction of Tifa's breast size? I guess we kind of already knew that just from seeing her in the trailers, that they were smaller than the original game. Either way, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and want to stay up to date with more Final Fantasy VII Remake content. Turn on my notifications. Follow me on Twitter at @the-david. At my Discord, links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
Give me forever for a while, give me forever for a while. Quit acting like a baby, or at least less like a